In earlier session, we discussed that in experimental research design, there are two types of research design. One is called as true experimental research design, and another is quasi-experimental research design. We started discussing this true experimental design, and we saw that in true experimental research design, the researcher has complete control over the extraneous variables, and we can confidently predict the effect of independent variable on the dependent variable. The characteristics of true experiment we discussed, that is the manipulation, control and randomization. These are the three important characteristics of true experimental research design. Manipulation, that means we make intervention in the treatment group. The intervention or the treatment which is given to that independent variable may be varied, that may be adjusted. It may the researcher, as per the requirement, he may increase or decrease the level of the treatment to the treatment group. We saw that there can be two groups. One can be treatment group, another is control group. In the treatment group, we give the treatment or we provide the intervention. We took the example like cells and the training effect of, we wanted to see the effect of training on the cells. The training is an independent variable and cells is a dependent variable. And there are two groups, that is one is treatment group, another is the control group. The treatment group receive the training, the control group do not receive the training. So in the treatment group, we provide the treatment or intervention which is called as manipulation. Another essential characteristic we saw that is control. In control, we saw that there can be a control group wherein the treatment is not provided, and this control group is there, which can be compared with the treatment group. Thereby we can find out what is the difference, and we can confirm or we can conclude the difference between those results from the particular action on these two groups. One group is treatment group, another is control group. The result of the action on these groups, maybe the difference between these two groups can be attributed to the effect of that independent variable. And the third essential characteristic of true experiment, we saw that is the randomization. Randomization means the equal each of the participant or individual which is participating in that particular research experiment, that should have equal chance of getting selected in the group. We saw that there can be three different types of methods of randomization. One is the flip of a coin, that is we can have a toss that head or tail. Based on that, the participant will be decided to be put into which group. Another method can be the slip of paper. We will write the name of the participants, and all the slips will be put into the bowl, and then the names will be drawn from that particular bowl, so as to select the participants for treatment group and the control group. Third method we saw that is a random table. In the random table, this random table and blindfolded subjects, that means these participants or those respondents wherein we want to make group, those participants will be blindfolded, that is their eyes will be covered, they will not be able to see. But without looking into the table, they have to select particular number, and based on that they will be put into the different groups like treatment group or control group. These are the three methods of randomization we saw. So these three important characteristics make research design a true experimental research design. So that much we discussed yesterday. Is it understood till now?
Yes,
Is there
sir.
any
Yes.
is there any query till now?
No.
Shall I ask some questions? Who will tell me what is treatment group, control group? Harish, Monica. Namrata. Treatment group, control group. Anybody?
Hello, sir. Hello.
Hmm.
In treatment group, sir, the training provided given by the self people, group of self people, and the control group. We do not provide the training for the sales people.
Okay, that the training and training given to the salespeople, that was one example we took. So basically, treatment group means that group wherein we give some treatment. It may be a training or it may be a medicine for that matter. And in control group means we do not provide any intervention or we do not provide any treatment. So that group is as it is. So these are two groups we discussed. And now shall we go ahead? The another research design in experimental design is a quasi experimental research design. Is the slide visible to you all? Is the slide visible?
Yes, sir.
Jayant?
Yes, sir.
So another experimental design is quasi experimental design. Quasi means which is not true. It is similar to true experimental design, but it is not a true experimental design. So what is quasi experimental research design is that here in the quasi experimental design, we manipulate the independent variable to observe its effect on the dependent variable. That is same as the requirement of any experimental design. What we do is we manipulate the independent variable and observe the effect of that independent variable on the dependent variable. However, this quasi experimental research design lacks at least one or two characteristic of the true experimental design. So those three important characteristics of true experimental design, in that three important characteristics, this quasi experimental design lacks, means it do not have at least one of the characteristic. It lacks at least one of the two characteristics of the true experimental design, that is randomization or control group. It doesn't it may not have a randomization or it may not have a control group. So it is similar to true experimental design. However, it do not have at least one of the characteristic. It may not have randomization or it will not have a control group. Are you getting this? What is quasi experimental design? Are you understanding?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this quasi experimental design is used in different situations where researchers are not able to randomly assign the subjects or the participants into different groups. That is one of the situation. In another situation wherein the researcher do not have a control group, a control group is not available for the study. So in this type of situations, this quasi experimental design is used. So basically quasi experimental design, that means we manipulate the independent variable to observe the effect of independent variable. That is an experimental design. However, it lacks at least one of the two characteristics of the true experimental design. That is, it lacks in randomization or control group. So one of the characteristic is absent. Either it will not have a randomization or it will not have a control group. So this quasi experimental design will be used in situations wherein the researcher is not able to randomly assign the subjects to the group, or uh, control group is not available for experimental study. So in these cases, this quasi experimental research design can be used. Is it understood till now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So going ahead, we'll discuss about another type of research design, that is a case study. So this is one of the qualitative research designs. This case study, first of all, we'll understand what is a case study. So here, a case study research design, that means a particular individual program or event is studied in depth for a definite period of time. So an individual program or event is studied in this type case study research design. What is done is an individual or program or an event is studied in depth for particular characteristic or for particular problem for a defined period of time. So for a particular period of time, an individual program or an event is studied in depth, so in detail. There can be examples of this case study design. One example is studying the effect of a new drug on a particular patient. So this can be a case. Another example can be studying the effectiveness of political campaigns for a candidate. So for a particular candidate, effectiveness of political campaign, that can be one case study design. Third example can be studying the level of improvement in the educational achievement of a student when given a new multivitamin formula. So for a particular student, we will be studying the level of improvement in the educational achievement after giving a new multivitamin formula. So what is the effect of that new multivitamin formula will be studied by taking one case. So these are few examples of case study design. This case study design will be qualitative research design. This is not quantitative. So we will not be studying any quantitative aspects, any numerical aspects will not be studied. Here we will be studying the qualitative aspects of that particular event or that particular program or that particular individual, and therefore it is called as qualitative research design. So in case study design, what methods are used to gather the data, that we will understand how we gather the data for case study. So in this case study method, the researcher collects extensive data on the individuals, programs, events on which the investigation is focused. So for a particular problem with under study or particular investigation, the researcher will collect extensive data, in-depth data on that particular individual or that particular program or that particular event. Different observations. The data can be collected through different observations, interviews, the different documents, past records, audio-visual materials. In audio-visual materials, different photographs, videotapes, audio tapes, all those information which is related to that particular individual, that particular program or that particular event, that is collected. And the researcher may spend time on site also to interact with the people who are being studied. So there can be an interaction also with the people who are under the study. Along with all this information, the researcher may collect contextual information, that is the background information for that particular case. So researcher record detail about context surrounding the case. The contextual information or the background information may be in the form of the physical environment in which that particular event is happening, the different information about physical environment, historical, economic and social factors which are affecting that particular situation. So all that particular background information is collected for the particular case. Are you getting?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now going ahead, this researcher can study 2 or more cases. There can be 2 or more cases will be studied for particular investigation or for particular problem. Often these cases are more different in certain key ways. There may be certain differences in the cases, and this from this understanding of different cases, the researcher can make comparison. He can build a theory, or he can propose generalizations. This is referred to as collective research study. So researcher when study 2 or more cases for the purpose of comparison, building study, or to propose certain generalization or making certain standard, or if the researcher wants to generalize the particular statements, or he want to make the assumptions, or postulate particular theory, he may go through 2 or more such types of cases wherein there can be differences in key aspects. So from that, the researcher can have certain theory or certain assumptions, hypotheses, some generalizations about the particular population. The weakness, main disadvantage of this case study method is that it is not able to generalize, or we cannot make the study applicable to a entire population. This case study method, when we are studying particular case, that cannot be generalized, that cannot be made applicable to a large number of people, especially if only one case study was performed. So where we are studying 1 or 2 cases, so those results or those conclusions which we are making, those are based on that particular case, and that will be applicable for that particular those cases only. So that these results or these conclusions cannot be generalized, that cannot be applied to a large group of people, and that cannot be applied anywhere else. So that is one of the disadvantage this case study method has. Have you understood case study method?
Yes, sir.
Case study method is which type of method? Case study type is which? Correct. Correct. So it is a qualitative research design. So if there are no queries, we'll go ahead to understand hypothesis. We had a brief background of hypothesis in earlier discussions also. So hypothesis, what is a hypothesis, that we'll first understand. Hypothesis, or the plural can be called as a hypothesis. So hypothesis is a singular. If there is only one assumption, we can call it as a hypothesis, SIS you can see, and if it is more than one hypothesis, we can say hypothesis, SES. So what is an hypothesis is? A hypothesis is a proposed explanation for a particular phenomenon. For a hypothesis to be a scientific hypothesis, the scientific method requires that one can test it. A hypothesis is a supposition or proposed explanation made on the basis of limited evidence as a starting point for the further investigation. So basically, what is a hypothesis is? It is an explanation of particular phenomenon. It is assumption made by a researcher for further study. That assumption researcher makes on the basis of few information which is already available, so that further research can be based on that particular assumption, and we get the correct answer, or we get certain conclusions for that problem under the study. So that is a hypothesis. Hypothesis is basically an assumption which researcher makes for carrying out a particular study. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
So
हेलो
what are the huh?
सर, फिर से बताइए ना.
Huh. So hypothesis is basically an assumption, yes, isn't it? While doing any research, the researcher makes hypothesis. Hypothesis means certain assumptions he propose for conducting that particular study. We took example. For example, if we take a problem that we are not getting a sales in it, sales is a problem. So then, for this study, a particular problem of sales is not being generated, or sales is getting affected, we make particular assumptions. For example, there can be one assumption that the salespeople are not working. Another assumption is that the particular advertisement program is not effective. Third assumption may be that product is not available. So these may be different assumptions, and we will test all those assumptions so as to find out the correct reason why sales is not happening. So hypothesis is basically an assumption. For conducting particular study or conducting particular research, we have to understand probable answers to that particular problem, and these hypotheses are probable answers which we will test. And after testing these hypotheses or these probable answers, we'll come to know which of the assumption or which of the probable answer is correct. Are you now getting this concept?
Yes, sir.
So hypothesis is an assumption made by a researcher, and for proposing any assumption or hypothesis, what he does is he first of all do exploratory study. We have studied what is exploratory study. He will go through different secondary material or secondary data which is readily available. It may be through internet, different books, magazines, journals. He will look look for the information. He will try to gather more and more information for that particular problem, and he will try to understand the problem in more better way, and to understand different probable reasons why that particular problem happens. So by this type of literature survey, we can call, or we can say exploratory study, the researcher is able to understand what may be the probable reasons for that particular problem. So after getting this probable reasons for that as a cause for that particular problem, he will be able to devise few assumptions to solve that particular problem. So once he may have few assumptions or hypothesis 1, 2, 3, 4 to solve that particular problem, so he will collect the data which will either support that hypothesis or it will reject the hypothesis. So for those hypotheses or assumptions wherein the data supports those hypotheses, we can say that those hypotheses are true, and other hypotheses wherein the data do not supports, we can say that those hypotheses are rejected. So from this study, or by collecting the data and testing this hypothesis, we will be able to find out the correct answer for that particular problem. So hypothesis is used for this purpose, to understand the real cause for the problem. Hypotheses are few assumptions which are made to solve that particular problem. So hypothesis is the basis on which we conduct the further research. We collect the data, we then test the hypothesis by using certain statistical methods. So this is a starting point. Hypothesis is a starting point for further investigation. So before starting any study, this researcher will make few assumptions, or we can call hypothesis. So these hypotheses are formulated, and based on this hypothesis further research will be carried out. So it is a starting point for any research investigation. So it is called as hypothesis. Now, what are the different qualities of a good hypothesis that we have to understand? Any statement cannot be called as a hypothesis, isn't it? To call a statement as a hypothesis, it should have few good characteristics. So, what are the good qualities of a good hypothesis that we'll have to understand? First characteristic of a good hypothesis is that it should be empirical statements. What is an empirical statement? Do you know what is empirical? Namrata? What is the meaning of empirical? Vinod?
Hello, sir.
What is empirical?
Empirical means based on or concerned with or related with something or verified observation taken by the observer.
Correct. So empirical means based on the experience or based on the facts. Empirical means based on the facts or based on the experience which we observe. So a good hypothesis should be based on the experience or the facts susceptible to observation. This hypothesis should not be normative. Normative means it should not be based on the opinions or judgment of the people. It should be based on the experience, or it should be based on the real facts. That is the one quality. Second quality of a good hypothesis is that it should explain a general phenomenon rather than a single occurrence. If sometimes some happens, it cannot be called as a hypothesis. For a good hypothesis, it should be general phenomenon. It should occur at many places, or it should be a general phenomenon which can be applied to larger population. It should a single occurrence cannot be called as a hypothesis. If something happens, that cannot be called as a hypothesis, or we cannot take it as a hypothesis if anything happens for a single time. For a hypothesis, that phenomenon which you are studying, that should be general. If you are studying advertisement and sales, this is general formula for every company. If the advertisement is affecting the sales, that is a general phenomenon which is common to many companies, or almost all the companies, isn't it? If something increases sales in a particular company for a single time, that cannot be called as a general phenomenon. So the general phenomenon which is applicable to many companies or many major population, that can be considered for the formulation of hypothesis. Another quality is that it should be plausible. It should be plausible. That means it should be practical or feasible. It should not challenge the logic. It should not be illogical. It should have some logic. It should be feasible. It should be justifiable. Any illogical type of statements cannot be called as a hypothesis. Further, it should be specific, meaning that the concepts are clearly defined. Whatever you want to test, whatever variable wherein you want to see the relationship, those should be specified clearly. It must be testable. Whatever variables you want to study for the relationship or for any cause and effect relationship, those hypotheses which are formulated must be testable. We should be able to test by using certain statistical tests. It should rely on sound reasoning. There should be sound reasoning. There should be justification for particular hypothesis. It should neatly affirm the relationship between the variables. It should neatly it should neatly state the relationship between different variables, and it should offer valid explanation for some outcome. So directed towards a certain outcome, that hypothesis should provide a valid explanation of a particular phenomenon. These are few characteristics of good hypothesis. We'll see few types of different hypotheses and examples, so that you will be more clear about all these qualities of a good hypothesis. Is it understood till now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we'll
Yes,
see.
sir.
Okay. So we'll see few types of hypothesis. First type of hypothesis is your directional hypothesis. Directional hypothesis, by the name itself, it suggests that it provides direction. So the definition of directional hypothesis is that directional hypothesis predicts the direction of relationship between the independent variable and the dependent variable. So in a particular hypothesis wherein we have independent variable and a dependent variable, this directional hypothesis shows the direction. That direction may be direct or inverse relationship. What type of direction of relationship is there, that can be described in directional hypothesis. We may take example that high quality of nursing education will lead to high quality of nursing practice skills. This is one hypothesis, and in this hypothesis you will be able to see that the direction can be predicted. Here we are saying that high quality of nursing education will lead to high quality of nursing practice skills. So that means if we have high quality of nursing education, that will lead to high quality of nursing practice skills. So there is a direct relationship. So the direction of relationship is being shown in this example, and therefore this hypothesis can be called as directional hypothesis. Another type of hypothesis is your non-directional hypothesis. Non-directional hypothesis means a hypothesis wherein there is a relationship between dependent and independent variables. However, it will not depict or it will not show any type of direction. That type of hypothesis can be called as non-directional hypothesis. You may take an example of non-directional hypothesis, that is a teacher-student relationship influence the student's learning. So this is one example of non-directional hypothesis. Here we are saying that teacher-student relationship influence the student's learning. The direction is not being specified. High relationship or low relationship, or what is its effect, high or low, that is not being depicted through this example. The direction is not being shown. Therefore, this type of hypothesis can be called as non-directional hypothesis. Now, who will tell me in this example which is dependent variable, which is independent variable? Madhuri, Rahul, Parinita. Who will tell me in this example which is the independent variable, which is the dependent variable?
So teacher is independent.
And
Learning is independent.
okay, that means that teacher-student relationship is independent variable, and the student's learning is the dependent variable. So in this example, we saw that this teacher-student relationship is independent variable and the student's learning is the dependent variable. Teacher-student relationship is affecting the student's learning. Therefore, student's learning is a dependent variable and teacher-student relationship is independent variable. So in this hypothesis, you will see that direction is not shown. It does not specify any direction of the relationship, and therefore this hypothesis can be called as a non-directional hypothesis. Are you all clear about this?
Yes, sir.
Acha. Any query in whatever we have discussed till now?
No, sir.
Tell me if you want to repeat any of the concept which we have discussed today, or any query, so that we can stop for today's session. Is there any query till now?
No, sir.